Hello there, and welcome to the Poly Podcast. My name is Torkel Tenberg, and the written versions of these episodes can be found over in the blog at Pollyverse.com. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming back and tuning into another random episode of Poly Podcast. Today, we're back on that creative grind set, and I'm putting out for your perusal a kind of a long-form poem / short story hybrid that was published with Spamzine a year ago now. Wow, only a year. Okay, yeah, 2020. Slightly over a year ago, but just only a year ago. Sorry, it feels weird saying that. It feels like it was a lot longer ago than that, but I guess time, I thought time had been going fast, but I guess it's been going slow in a way as well. Everything's all out of balance in the world, that's for sure. So, this poem short story is called Where Have All the Good Vaporwave Artists Gone? And I'll put a reading of it in the episode at the end, because I actually did a reading of it already on another podcast, which I'm going to mention soon. But let's start off. So in May 2020, Spamzine released their very last printed issue. As you may know from the podcast, Spam is one of my favorite publishers, one of my favorite zines. They're based out of Glasgow, I believe. Came across them while I was living in the UK. And so they put together their final printed Spam Zine, as it's called, issue. They continue them online, but not in a printed form. They strictly do different things printed now, like singular, poets' body of work as an issue, as you may remember from one of the previous blog posts I talked about applying for that. Sorry, I'm shuffling things around. I haven't sat at this computer for a while. So they do a bit of that. They do some anthology series as well, a bunch of different things. But so somehow I became lucky enough to have my very long and strange poem featured among the extremely exclusive pages of Spam number 10, Millennium Megabus is the name of the issue. If you don't know, Megabus is a mode of transport. I don't know if it's specifically England or if it's all over UK, but it's like the cheap bus option if you're traveling, from city to city. You can get them for very cheap, and they run very early in the morning usually, or late at night, strange hours of the day. But yeah, I highly recommend buying the Zine and having a read through, if it's still available. If you're a lover of post-internet poetry, or if you have a bit of an interest in the sound of that kind of a thing. If you like the sort of stuff that I write, then I'm sure you'll like the sort of stuff that Spam puts out there, because, they were a huge part of my development as a poet. I've got a bunch of their zines and issues. Oh my God. I'm going to be back in a sec. I might have to edit this. I'm going to go grab the issue, actually. I don't know why I don't have it with me. One sec. One moment. Yes, so here it is. The screen is flipped, isn't it? Spam's Megabus issue. The physical copy. If you live near me, I may let you borrow it. But this is my only copy, so I'm not sending it out to anyone. I'm very fond of this. And I believe this has a few people that I know in it. It has Luke Thorogood, the old Pollyverse boy himself. And it has my friend, let me see if I can see him among the pages. Yes, Matthew Carberry as well. Great poet who I've spoken with a few times. Yes, and it's got the boy Dan Power. It's got a bunch of amazing people in here. DJ underscore Rip the Four. I don't know who that is. Kat Sinclair, that name's familiar. Maria Rose Sledmere. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Bunch of very good people. Look at that. That's a cool little inside cover. You can't read any of those names anyway. As proof that I was in this. Oh no, I lost the page now. But I believe I have Luke's here. Oh no, here it is. This is Luke's edition, Hyperstack. I don't know if he's written more of these, but these were one of my favorite things. Hyperstack. It's incredible. It's like film scripts that can't possibly exist because they're so elaborate. I love it. And I'm in here somewhere. Gonna have a quick look. Yeah, I found it. There it is. Blasted on the pages, my little name. Yeah, so I'm super happy with that. Super proud of that. Spam's one of my favorite places, like I said. So anyway, I had to bring that in. But yeah, you should definitely check it out if it's still available. You get yourself a copy. Otherwise, I do believe that they sell PDFs, downloadable copies on their website as well. I'll leave a link for that, of course, in the description of wherever you're listening to this. So you can see for yourself if you're interested. So yeah, like I said, the Spamzine and Spam Press as a whole, they're still around, and they've been up to a lot lately. They've been expanding their reach a little bit, doing all sorts of things. Yeah, like I said, they've been releasing new collections of poetry online as well as part of the Spam series. You know, I don't know if they call it Spamzine still. They might do. I think it's, yeah, but it's online and it's still got the same sort of flair that this has, you know, chaotic, cool things. Here we go. Here's the back page. Very aesthetic. I mean, I love this sort of stuff. I'm going to take a little flip through some of these pages so you can see. There's a random one that's sideways. I like that. That's very Mark C. Danielewski inspired, obviously. Who knows? Here's a art spread. Some sort of, oh my God. Yeah, some Photoshop going on there. We love that. So yeah, you should definitely check out their website as well. See what else, if anything, piques your interest. But so my piece in there is called Where Have All of the, in brackets, good Vaporwave Artists Gone? Where have all the good Vaporwave artists gone? It's a long title, actually. A very long title. And what it is a transcendental dive into the world of public transport seat art. If you can conjure up that image in your head, you know, the fabric on the cushions of the bus or the train, those weird patterns and colors that they often have splayed across them. So yeah, this is, just to preface this is another episode of sort of like a half deep dive into what came behind the idea of something that I wrote. what's the meaning behind the story and how to come up with it and things like that. So that's what this episode's about. I like doing these kinds of episodes. Also because it lets me put out a bunch of things, put them out on the internet even more, like things that I've written that already exist. I can promote them in this little way, shamelessly. Or ones that don't exist anyway, I can breathe them out into the world for the first time. So, let's continue. This public transport seat art. It's an area of aesthetics that's kind of fascinated me since I was taking the bus to school as a kid. For a little while, I did that there. And I don't really know why it fascinated me. I guess I've always been sort of an observant and introverted person, so I would notice little things like that and then focus on it and, get those ocular illusions by staring at something for too long and then just imagine a story behind it. I think that's sort of where the fascination came from. And then you just start thinking, who the hell came up with these? Why do they exist? Why didn't they just have plain seats? Or why, some better looking seats? Why is it so strange? So, and pre-COVID, when traveling was more of a thing, when I was living in closer to places to travel to, when I was living in the UK, I didn't drive or anything. I took the train most days. So I had a lot of time looking at public transport over the years. So I've had a lot of time to think about this. I actually discussed this with one of my friends, I think before I wrote this, and they were on the similar page to me. They were saying, yeah, I've thought about this as well. So it's not just me. I'm not alone. Okay? There's other people out there that think about public transport seat art. And I'd kind of get a little bit excited, like a small little jolt of joy every time I boarded a new bus or train or ferries in Perth that I've been on, because I knew that I was going to see a strange new tacky seat pattern. Was it going to be purple? It's going to be bright yellow, just the entire rainbow in a checkered pattern. It could be anything. And I've actually been thinking about and even brainstorming creative project ideas around public transport seat art well before the opportunity to enter a submission to Spamzine's public transport themed Millennium Megabus issue presented itself. So I've been thinking about it for a long time, and then I didn't really know what to do. I was thinking maybe make a little pamphlet and have examples of seat art or something. But then Spam presented itself with this beautiful opportunity, with their themed issue of public transport through the Millennium Megabus. I thought, wow, it's time to write this sucker of a story. So in hidden away computer files, I had a catalog actually of links to obscure seat documenting travel blogs and discussion articles, as well as a vast array of seat pattern photography from around the world. They're both taken by myself and others. I even found some websites that advertised and sold their apparently modern versions of public transport textiles in varying forms. And as you can imagine, though, anything from very classic to absolutely insane styles. Imagine trying to push the boundaries of public transport seat art. There's going to be some weird things that come out of that. I recommend Googling around public transport seat art and finding some of these places. I would link them, but I don't know. Those files are hidden somewhere deep, somewhere very, very deep in the Google Drive. And there's not while I do say there are people who think about public transport seat art, there's not a lot. So go find it for yourself. So yeah, I don't know who first decided to go with the hyper colorful, urban, modern, tacky, yet somehow 80s style designs of what we know today as everyday, ordinary public transport seat covers. But it gripped me as a quirk of metropolitan life, or maybe even a glitch in the matrix of our mundane world. And as you all know, if you've been keeping up to date with the blog posts or the podcasts, as a vaporwave fan and a guy who loves the aesthetic irony of colorful socks and Crocs, I knew that I had to be the one to draw this perfect marriage piece between Spam's unique take on language and public transport's spectacular samplings of everyday art. So that was my goal with writing this piece. And that's how the idea and the title of the poem came about. In short, I'd been noticing a consistent trend in modern vaporwave art. Essentially, a lot of it fell into its own genre trap that had been created by the people themselves, the lovers of vaporwave. There's recreations of older aesthetics, mainly Macintosh Plus and Blank Banshee inspired, splashed with a lot more pink and modern 3D stylings and renderings. And I get what I'm talking about here is I'm a member of different, Facebook groups and subreddits and things like that of vaporwave art. So I keep a little bit up to date on it. And that's what I'm referring to, what people are coming out with nowadays. And I started to think what had happened to those old album covers that look like postcards or magazine cutout collages of pop culture gore. Pop culture gore? Sorry, I'm reading this off of my blog post. That's a weird word. So yeah, like obviously it's the mass, the bulk amount of anything, the average mean is going to generally be pretty repetitive and boring, I guess. So it goes for vaporwave as well. There's obviously a lot of very interesting vaporwave coming out all the time, and a lot of really interesting art for sure around vaporwave. But the bulk of it on all these like fan forums and stuff like that is just heavily repetitive and inspired by older things that were groundbreaking originally. So this basically led to my imagining of these older and subjectively good vaporwave artists to have been recruited into the public transport sector as designers for seat covers. So, the OG best of the best in the vaporwave art game quit their day jobs that didn't pay and became public servants. So thus they are committing this was the theory, right? Thus they are committing themselves completely to their criticisms and nostalgia for capitalism, because that's a big part of vaporwave. Giving back to the everyday, participating societal folks through new art, without adding to the capitalist monolith directly. So these imagined actions I thought of as a completely selfless growth of the artists individually. They have finally given back to society with colorful, everyday amusement for all to enjoy on their way to work and school, instead of the vaporwave music for the depressed and nostalgic daydreamers online. So that was my theory around it. Even though it's ridiculous, and I mean, part of coming up with these things is fiction as well. Like, I'm very interested in conspiracy theories as a whole, not because I believe in them, but because I love the imagination that goes into them. So there's a snippet look into the lens. So like I was a big member on Flat Earth forums when that was popular in the mainstream. Because I loved all the videos and stuff that they made up about an Arctic wall and men in black guarding the edge of the Earth, and how the Earth spins around in a disk and that creates gravity, or there is no gravity. It's so inventive. Even though I don't believe in any of these things, you do have to invent weird conspiracies and things in order to create fictional worlds, for sure. So I like it as a process of creativity. It's imagining things. So yeah, nothing serious by it. Don't worry about me yet. So, with all that being said, it is almost time to present you with the reading of the poem that I did back in June 2020 on an episode of Spam's very own podcast, which is called URL Sonata. And this was on episode number 4 about the Millennium Megabus Spam issue number 10. So I'll leave a link for that too if you want to check it out. There's a lot of really good readers on there. And I really respect Spam for creating a podcast for poetry and discussions. And listening to it definitely helped inspire me to come up with a concrete concept for my own podcast too. Because I was thinking, I started this podcast years ago, and I'd done different podcasts over the years, but it never was really a concrete idea. I was just talking about something random. One of them was conspiracy theories. One of them was, an anime that me and my friend are obsessed with, all sorts of things. But listening to Spam's podcast, it definitely helped me come up with concrete ideas and to realize that you can basically have an open mic session online in a podcast form. Open mic meaning like, not stand up, like slam poetry kind of nights, as you might know them as. Every city has open mic poetry usually. And I miss that. I'm sure a lot of people miss that, especially with lockdowns and things. And I hope that this can turn into that in the future. This podcast can. Hopefully can have interviews and have people reading out their work and stuff like that. So yeah, they got a lot of good people on their podcast, so you should definitely give it a listen. And ignore my bio introduction, because I thought it would be good to do a funny one. Because, I thought that sort of Spam's vibe is this semi-serious. It's like, people who genuinely love poetry and things like that, but having fun with it. So I had fun with the bio, but no one else went for that aesthetic. So yeah, I seemed pretty ridiculous. But I don't mind. It was still good. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with the recording now that I'm going to edit in of my reading of Where Have All the Good Vaporwave Artists Gone? So this is me signing out. And thank you for listening for today. And I hope to see you again in the next one. Ta-da. Fellow readers, humble surveyors of art and culture, I am addressing you now, for today I wish to present to you a theory. If you are uneducated on what vaporwave is as a culture, a deceased social movement, then I suggest that you return to this discussion at a later date. Helipads, beach houses, champagne and blue skies, white clothes on white faces with black sunglasses and pretty smiles. Heavily edited photo of water with light reflections through it. As I begin to write this deeply opinionated and fictional discussion piece, I have surrounded myself in an aura of consciousness, Random Vaporwave artists play through my Bluetooth speakers. My PC hums a soft static as the RGB lights pulsate from the keyboard, resting atop a pink palm tree decorated tabletop. The essential viewing of a pro table tennis match has already taken place, and I am now all the more prepared to shine a much needed and metaphorical light on the ever-evolving community that is perhaps quite largely responsible for my lack of interest in the physical world. So desperate that you have to hit the vape at every stop. Image of a man on a train, standing at the carriage doors, vape in hand. Now for the elephant in the room. Vaporwave. Unquestionably the modern embodiment of the great 1970s punk music movement, with influences from all relevant aspects of our present-day society as we know it. Consumerism, false news, technology, marketing, media, aesthetic beauty, nature, city living, self-help, the internet and its infinite subcultures, etc. This form of anti-pop, digital remixes and mashups transformed into an entire self-sustaining ambient aesthetic auditory and visual ecosystem. The teachings were either immediately understood and embraced by individuals, or utterly cast aside in a state of flustered confusion. Joey from the hit TV show Friends stars in his Ichiban Lipstick for Men Japanese commercial, played on repeat, dubbed over with the distorted sounds of Winston Churchill speeches until conclusion. Public transport. The breeding ground of all good 20th century creatives worth their name. You can read 1,000 futures just by looking around at the herd. 1. The good people dressed in black and white business attire, playing Candy Crush on their new iPhones. 2. The young traveller with a puffy beanie on their head and a book in hand. 3. The mother with a pram and a baby, and another baby, and an aneurysm waiting to happen. 4. That one guy with some sort of an energy drink and a weird cap that used to be fashionable in the early 2000s. Then there are the seats, those fateful little butt cushions which we sometimes do not sit on, just to avoid being in too close of a proximity to another human being. Those seats are the defiantly subtle glimpses of artistic vision aboard the many different modes of moving steel carriages. They are an occasional discussion piece of a small number of Twitter and Instagram users alike, even going so far as to be featured in several written articles over the years, attempting to decipher the Dan Brown-esque mystery. Let me tell you right here, right goddamn now. These were vaporwave artists in their self-loathing, espresso-depresso, dopamine-seeking, fuckboy, sad boy, smoke-woke, narcissistic tendencies towards artistic expression have led them evermore into the abyss. The ones who are the most honest to their adopted list of principles are those who have given up on the digital and audio life, sacrificing themselves to society in its rawest and most physical form. A promise and a commitment to the public service sector through seat designs on buses, trains, trams, maybe other things too, I don't know, ferries. Chaotic patterns, contrasting color choices, stories of a mind unleashed, flickering visions into madness, local vibes materialized through fabric, permanent beings of absolute and optimal form, deliverers of minimal comfort, commuting vessels for the everyday people, the 9-to-5 freak show, the educated, educating, and the uneducated. These noble objects of childlike wonder, Rorschach tests for the free thinkers, epileptic mayhems, closed-eye hallucinations realized. I give you this gift, and I dare not take it from you. There's nothing that I would not do for a friend unknown.